Hello friends, I believe you have heard about my ordeal, and tomorrow it's going to be 100 days since I've broken my elbow, and I must say that has been extremely painful and challenging journey, which I hope works well eventually for everybody. So far the challenge has been on my side, but I believe that the longer term benefits are going to be on yours. Right? However, sort of cruel and maybe even cynical that sounds, but I have been on the delivery side of the rehabilitation for 33 years now, and it's been 3 months, or tomorrow it's like 100 days, of being on the receiving side of rehabilitation. Fortunately, for the previous 53 years I've never broke anything and so on, and now it came in. And it was quite a stack of the unfortunate things, like I've slipped in the place where I walked hundreds of times. I fell on the ground, but that ground actually had some stones, and I kind of landed on that stone. And then, a point that I landed in was the worst possible point to choose. So it was really not higher, not lower, it was right inside the elbow, and with a cracked bone and the bone that fell into several pieces. So in fact, I opted out of the surgery because it was really kind of in between. It was this sort of perfectly bad situation, meaning if it was a bit easier, I would have an easy heart, surely that it will work out, the whole rehabilitation process. If it was worse, like piercing bones and so on, then I would have no other option but to do the surgery. And this one was kind of in between. It's like there, but of course every surgeon or orthopedic person I consulted with told me, well, you have 0 chances of making it, so it's going to be the dysfunctional arm for the rest of your life. Or your alternative is to get like a 2.5 to 5 hours operation, put whatever, all sorts of screws, wires and plates into it, and hopefully it will work. The reality is I've been on the side of observing how the surgeries go bad for too many times. So on the one hand, on the other hand, it's kind of a certain belief on my side, believe it or not, that things happen for a reason, and that through this I might discover the things which will be of benefit for the others, to the point that I was never been able to discover them through just being on the delivering side. And the first point is really, really clear, that if mine was only the bone, I can clearly say that osteology, so the bone thing, has so much in common with neurology, especially in this particular case when it's the joint itself got affected, right? So probably when it breaks kind of cleanly above or below, so it doesn't affect the joint, so it's easier. But this one, my entire hand, effectively, well, my entire upper extremity from the fingers all the way to the shoulder blade, everything just got completely switched off. So, and it's been also big part with losing the kind of fingers function, and then having the significant impingement of the ulnar nerve, so with losing the sensory part and so on. So now I'm kind of with this sensation back to maybe 85–90% and so on. So things are sort of peaking up. You see, I can do the gestures and so on, but you learn so much. How difficult it is to let go of the object. How difficult it is to press the button. You see, it took me several weeks of hard work to get to the point that I was able to press the button on the watch. I was doing it with my teeth, I was doing it with all sorts of weird moves, and really you learn a lot. And over the months and so on, I will be, of course, sharing more of this journey, but this internal appreciation of how things work and what intimate connections are there, and that is in fact the realization that fascia thing is what unites the osteology and neurology which is presumably the thing which affects your children, that's of course an immense knowledge. Unfortunately, with this learning curve came a lot of pain, and well, I mean, I still cannot sleep for more than 1.5 hours in a row because I have to change position and so on, the arm gets bent and so on. So it's been tough. And the very tough part was actually the inability to work on the computer. So on the one hand, I'm a right-handed, so that's why my attempts to move the mouse and control it with the left hand were really slow. But even worse, once you get one hand and it gets tense, because you're not familiar with it, this one gets like 10 minutes and it's not just dead, it's like it's incredibly painful. And then, you know, operating the mouse with this one was really a pain. Now, that really caused this huge delay in the delivery of the cases, for which I sincerely apologize. As I said, I do think in the long run, it's going to be for the better for you, you know, by all the things that I've learned through. And then I already sort of started to have the live courses. You know, I had one in the UK and one here in Spain, so that's where filming in the hotel after sort of 10 days of having continuous sessions here. And what I've discovered finally is that, you know, on the one hand, the dexterity of my left hand has improved, so I'm quick enough with moving it, not as much as the right one, but the most important thing, I can do the left hand and the right one doesn't really kill me. So that is really finally making it possible that I will be getting back to the backlog of cases. So that's kind of the update of the situation from that perspective. And you know, it's so much you learn, it's just incredible. You see, I've always talked about the, for example, the septa, right? So the membrane that separates the back of the hand and the bottom of the hand. And you learn like you know this, right? But you never feel it to that extent. And then the point is that how much it costs when things connect and separate. It's like with this hand, you know, it's connected first about like 3-4 weeks ago, and I was able to make a trip to the UK with a kind of budget airline and kind of handle it. And then after further work, we managed to get to the point that the septa connected. And it's really the back of the hand, the bottom of the hand, they got established and separated. And then, like, you get it, and I can't barely move my fingers. I can't do anything. I can't lift it and so on and so forth. So that is like, wow, it's connected, but then it's exposed the weakness on the back of the hand. This is really incredible. Like, and then it's like, you can't spread them, you can't do anything. You see, you can see until today, right? It's like this is the left and that's the right one. But it's sort of getting to the point that I'm able to get some moves, you know, let's say reach this, but you see, for example, still getting the glasses on and off. You know, that's really the things which are, you know, like, oh, you know, getting the spoon. It's a lot of weird things, right? A lot of weird things, but at the same time, you understand the children so much better. So much better, you know, let's say what it costs in terms of the sensory part and so on and so on. So anyway, I kind of digress again, but that's the reality. And I do hope that with the newly found kind of stage in my rehabilitation, we will be able to get better and finally, like within the next few weeks, catch with the cases. On the other hand, there have been several important realizations and discoveries that came lately, and that will be the next part of this video. So which I think that you'll be very pleasantly surprised, because we really tested them and it's really opening completely new opportunities for us, which you will be really excited about.